Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Olive Grove. We're diving into Isaiah today.
Isaiah.
Got it.
Chapter 57.
Chapter 57.
Yeah.
Lots of,
Imagery and symbolism.
yeah, really powerful messages and
Powerful message.
some themes about finding peace
Finding peace with God.
with God. We're going to be looking at My Christian Spaces study on this.
Yeah, they're working from the complete Jewish Bible translation.
Right, which is,
Which is interesting.
it is interesting. For those who haven't heard of it, it really tries to bring out the Jewish context
The Jewish context of the text.
of the text. So,
It gives us some interesting nuances to
yeah,
think about.
yeah. So right away,
Right away.
in the first couple verses,
First couple verses.
Isaiah mentions righteous people dying
Yeah.
and being taken away.
Taken away.
And that kind of sounds a little
Yeah. You think
counterintuitive.
righteousness, you would live a long and happy life.
You would think so.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you think about the world that Isaiah was living in, ancient Israel surrounded by enemies,
Right.
constant threats of war and violence,
It makes you wonder.
being taken away could actually be a form of divine protection,
Oh.
a way to escape the horror.
So it's like God saying,
I'm going to spare you
yeah, I'm going to spare you
from the worst of what's to come.
from the worst of it.
The complete Jewish Bible uses the phrase gathered to their ancestors,
Right.
which evokes this idea of being welcomed into a peaceful rest with God,
Hmm.
away from the turmoil of the world.
It's almost like death isn't something to
To fear, especially when compared to the alternative of enduring unimaginable suffering.
Wow. That puts a whole new spin on things.
Yeah.
Makes you think about, what kind of evil
What kind of evil
Isaiah was talking about and how that might connect with challenges that
we face?
we face in our own lives.
Absolutely.
So that leads us up to the heart of the issue here.
Yeah. The heart of the issue.
Idolatry.
Idolatry.
Verses 3 and 4.
He pulls no punches.
He doesn't.
Yeah. Calls out those who are choosing to turn away from God.
Mm-hmm.
Uses some pretty harsh terms.
He does.
Sons of a sorceress.
Yeah.
Offspring of adultery.
What's interesting is how he doesn't just condemn idolatry, like generally.
In the abstract.
In
right?
abstract, yeah.
He gets really specific,
Yeah.
vivid descriptions.
He's painting a picture
He is painting a picture.
for his listeners.
Going to sacred groves.
Yeah.
Offering sacrifices under trees.
Engaging in practice.
Engaging in divination, sorcery.
There's that kind of disturbing detail
Disturbing detail.
about the sacrifice.
At the head of the valleys.
Yeah, at the head of the valley.
Under the clefts of the rocks.
Under clefts of the rocks.
Yeah.
Going to extreme lengths.
Extreme lengths to appease these false gods.
Yeah. It's almost like they were trying to hide it.
Hide their activities.
Yeah, do it in secret.
Because even they knew it was wrong.
It kind of shows the
Extreme
same
deception.
deception
Yeah, deceptive.
goes hand in hand with idolatry.
He mentions smooth stones from the wadi.
Yeah, that sounds pretty random.
Whoa.
What's the significance of that?
It seems like these stones were used as physical representations of their gods.
Okay.
This was a time when people were creating idols.
Out of all sorts of
Out
things.
of all sorts of things, wood, metal, stone,
So they were taking,
something ordinary from nature,
yeah,
elevating it.
to the status of God.
That's the essence of idolatry, isn't it?
It is.
Taking something created,
Yeah.
something that should point us back to the Creator,
Right.
giving it the worship and devotion that belongs to God alone.
It's almost like they're trying to create their own gods that fit
Their desires,
their desires.
rather than aligning their desires with the one true God.
Mm-hmm. And the text even goes on to describe,
How they were making covenants with these idols,
yeah,
pouring out drink offerings, all these rituals designed to secure favor and protection.
it's a lot of effort.
It is a lot of effort.
It makes you wonder what they were getting out of
What
it.
were they getting out of it?
Was it just a fleeting sense of security?
Fleeting sense of security,
False hope
false hope.
that they were controlling their own destiny.
And I think that's where the text really starts to unpack the consequences.
Right.
Verses 8 and 9 describe them as worn out by so much travel, constantly seeking out new gods, new rituals, new ways to satisfy their desires.
But it sounds like they're never finding
True fulfillment.
true fulfillment or lasting peace.
No.
This reminds me of
Oh, tell me more.
something we've been talking about over at My Christian Space.
Okay.
We've been having these discussions about the things that people cling to
Things that people cling to
in their lives that become idols
without even realizing it.
without them even realizing.
It could be anything.
It could be anything.
Material possessions to career ambitions to even relationships.
And sometimes
Sometimes those things aren't inherently bad.
they're not bad in themselves,
Right.
but it's when we elevate them
To a place of ultimate importance.
to ultimate importance. Then they become a problem.
Then they become a problem.
Like that old saying, anything can be an idol if you love it more than God.
That's right.
And I think that's a key takeaway from this passage.
A key takeaway.
It's not just about condemning the ancient rituals.
No.
It's about
Recognizing the idols.
recognizing the idols in our own hearts
And choosing to turn away from them.
and choosing to turn away from them. So for those listening, take a moment and think about,
Think about what smooth stones you might be clinging to.
what are the things
You're pouring your time, energy, and devotion into.
that are ultimately leaving you feeling
Empty.
empty and exhausted?
And if you're looking for a community
Yeah.
to help you navigate these questions,
I cannot recommend My Christian Space enough.
it's a fantastic online community.
It is. People can connect, share their struggles, and encourage one another.
They also offer tons of resources
They do. Bible studies, podcasts, articles.
that can help you deepen your understanding of faith.
Explore these topics in a safe and supportive environment.
And speaking of making a difference in the world,
Yes.
I wanted to mention the incredible work that Enduring Freedom Ministries is doing.
Their mission is truly inspiring.
They're working to establish a food pantry in Jerusalem,
Jerusalem.
a city that holds such deep spiritual significance.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the impact that will have providing sustenance
To those in need.
to those in need.
In such a historically and religiously rich place,
Yeah.
it's a tangible way to extend compassion and love
Oh.
to people from all walks of life.
It's a beautiful vision.
It is.
And we encourage everyone listening to consider supporting Enduring Freedom Ministries
Yes.
in any way they can.
Every donation, no matter how small, helps bring this vital project to life.
No,
Yeah.
going back to Isaiah 57,
Right.
let's see what happens next in this story of idolatry and its consequences.
Okay, let's dive in.
So picking up in verses 11 and 12, it's like God is saying, look, you're exhausting yourselves chasing after all these things, putting your trust in things that can't deliver.
Yeah,
You've forgotten about me,
right.
the one who truly offers security and fulfillment.
It's almost like God is waiting patiently
Patiently.
for them to realize the futility of their pursuits.
Yeah.
Like a parent watching their child make choices
Right.
that they know are going to lead to heartache.
You can almost hear the sadness in God's voice as he asks, of whom have you been so afraid that you lie and do not remember me?
Right.
Or take this to heart. Like he's saying, I'm right here,
Yeah.
but you've chosen to chase after
Empty promises.
empty promises instead.
Mhm.
And then comes this powerful shift,
Yeah.
verse 13, where God basically lays out the choice.
Right.
Whoever takes refuge in me will inherit the land and possess my holy mountain.
It's like a turning point in the chapter.
A turning point.
A moment of decision.
Exactly. And that phrase, takes refuge in me,
Yeah.
is so important.
What does that mean?
It's not just about intellectual assent or going through the motions of religious rituals. It's about a deep heart-level trust in God,
Right.
a willingness to surrender our fears and anxieties to him.
It's like finding shelter
Shelter in a storm,
in a storm.
knowing that you're safe and secure no matter what's happening outside.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that the complete Jewish Bible uses the word inherit.
Right.
It suggests that those who take refuge in God receive something incredibly valuable,
Mm-hmm.
something that can't be earned or bought, but is freely given as a gift.
So it's not about escaping punishment,
No,
avoiding hardship,
no.
but it's about
Receiving a blessing,
receiving a blessing.
a legacy of peace and security
Mhm.
that comes from being in a right relationship with God.
So that brings us to this really beautiful and hopeful section,
Verses 14 through 16,
14 through 16.
where we see a glimpse of God's
Mercy
incredible mercy and compassion.
and compassion.
He acknowledges their flagrant greed.
Mhm.
He sees their rebellion,
Right.
but he still offers a path to healing and restoration.
It's like he's saying, I see your brokenness.
I see your brokenness,
I know the mistakes that you've made.
but I still love you,
I still love you.
and I want to make you whole again.
Yeah. And then there's that beautiful repetition.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Peace.
It's like a soothing balm
Yeah.
on the wounds of their rebellion.
Right.
A promise of wholeness and restoration.
It's significant
It is significant that he offers this peace.
to both those who are near
Yeah,
and those who are far off.
far off.
It speaks to the universality of his love. The fact that his grace extends to everyone, regardless of their background or how far they've strayed.
It really makes me think about how salvation through Jesus, or Yeshua, as it's
Yes.
called in the complete Jewish Bible,
Right.
is available to everyone who believes.
Right, everyone who believes.
It transcends cultural and geographical boundaries.
I think that's what makes this passage
Yeah.
so powerful and relevant.
For us today.
It reminds us that no matter what mistakes we've made, no matter how far we've wandered,
God's love.
God's love is always available to us.
That's powerful.
It's a reminder that there's always hope,
Always?
always a chance to turn back to Him
Right.
and experience His incredible mercy and grace.
Now, in contrast to this offer of peace and restoration,
Yeah.
the chapter ends with a pretty stark warning
The stark warning.
about the fate of those who persist in their wickedness.
Right.
It's like a storm is brewing on the horizon, a sense of foreboding about the consequences of choosing to reject God's offer of shalom.
What happens next?
Yeah, what happens next?
Well, verse 20, Isaiah uses this powerful analogy of the restless sea
Okay.
to describe the inner turmoil and chaos
Mm-hmm.
that characterize the lives of the wicked.
Right,
He says the wicked are like the tossing sea, for it cannot be quiet,
right.
and its waters toss up mire and dirt.
It's like they're constantly being tossed about by their own desires and fears,
Tossed about.
never finding a moment of true peace or contentment.
Powerful image, isn't it? It is.
And then the chapter ends with this very clear statement. There is no peace, says my God, for the wicked.
Why?
It's a sobering reminder
It is.
that choosing to live apart from God ultimately leads to a life of turmoil and emptiness.
So we have this really clear contrast
Real contrast.
presented to us in this chapter. The path of idolatry, which leads to exhaustion,
Emptiness.
emptiness,
Unrest.
versus the path of taking refuge in God, which leads to inheritance healing
And true shalom.
and true shalom. It's a choice that we face every single day.
Every single day.
What are we giving our allegiance to?
What are we giving our allegiance to?
What are we putting our trust in?
Where are we seeking our security and fulfillment?
That's a powerful question to consider
Yes.
as we wrap up our deep dive into Isaiah 57.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways
Some key takeaways.
that you hope listeners will walk away with today?
Yeah, it feels like we've really been on a journey
We have
through this chapter.
Indeed.
We've seen the allure of idolatry,
the consequences.
the devastating consequences,
Yeah.
and ultimately the overwhelming grace and mercy of God.
So for those of you listening,
Yeah.
have you ever found yourself chasing after those smooth stones?
Those things that promised fulfillment,
Yeah.
but ultimately left you feeling empty.
It's so easy to get caught up in that cycle.
It is.
We're bombarded with messages
We are.
telling us that happiness is found in possessions and status. But as Isaiah reminds us, true peace,
True shalom.
true shalom can only be found
In right relationship.
in right relationship with God.
And that relationship starts
Yeah.
with recognizing our need for Him,
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging that we can't find lasting fulfillment on our own,
Humility,
humility,
surrender,
surrender,
trusting that He knows what's best for us.
And remember, the complete Jewish Bible uses the word inherit.
To describe what awaits those who take refuge in God,
It's not something we earn.
it's a gift.
It's a gift
Freely given to us.
that is out of His love and grace.
It's like receiving an inheritance
Yeah.
that we could never have earned on our own.
Right.
A legacy of peace, security, and purpose
Yeah.
that comes from being His children.
And that legacy starts right now.
Right now.
It's not something we have to wait for in the afterlife.
We can experience the shalom of God
In our lives today,
today
by choosing to align our hearts and minds
with His will.
with His will,
And that might mean letting go of some of those smooth stones
letting go
that we've been clinging to.
those idols,
Those idols that are taking up space,
preventing us
from experiencing.
fullness of His presence.
That's a process.
It is a process.
It's not always easy to let go of things that we've been holding on to.
But remember,
Yeah.
God is patient.
And merciful
He's always there to guide us, to strengthen us.
to help us make those changes.
He's not just a God of judgment.
Hmm.
He's a God of healing and restoration.
He wants to see us.
Whole.
He wants to see us thriving.
And He's given us everything we need
We experience that shalom
to experience that shalom.
in our lives.
And speaking of resources,
Yes.
I want to mention again the fantastic community over at My Christian Space.
They offer so much support and encouragement.
For those who are on this journey of faith,
Amazing Bible studies, podcasts, and a whole online community.
where you can connect
Yeah.
with other believers.
Share your struggles and your triumphs.
And for those of you who are looking for a tangible way to make a difference,
Yes.
we encourage you to check out the work of Enduring Freedom Ministries.
Their mission to establish a food pantry in Jerusalem is truly inspiring.
Imagine the impact that will have, providing sustenance and hope
To those in need.
in such a historically and spiritually significant place.
Right.
Your donations can make a real difference in bringing this vision to life.
So as we wrap up our deep dive
Into Isaiah 57.
into Isaiah 57, we leave you with this question. What are the smooth stones in your life
What are those smooth stones?
that might be preventing you from experiencing the fullness of God's shalom?
Take some time to reflect.
To examine your heart,
Ask God to reveal any areas
where you might be holding on.
where you might be holding on to something that's hindering your relationship with Him.
And remember, you are not alone.
You're not alone on this journey.
God is with you every step of the way,
Offering His grace, His guidance.
and His unwavering love.
Thanks for joining us on the Olive Grove today.
We hope this deep dive into Isaiah 57 has been insightful and encouraging.
And remember, if you want to continue exploring these themes,
Head over to the My Christian Space website.
you'll find a wealth of resources there, including the full study on Isaiah 57.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Olive Grove podcast on YouTube for more deep dives like this one.
We've got some amazing topics lined up,
We do.
and we can't wait to share them with you.
Until next time, may you find peace and rest in the presence of the Almighty.
Shalom, friends.